Drum roll, a world journey. Some of you has been in New York, in London, in Tel Aviv, in Mumbai, in Hong Kong, and now back to their homes in just 5 days. Are you jet lagged? How are you feeling? Unmute yourself.
I want to go to Hong Kong. For sure. I have to spend some time trying to understand the opportunities there. I think it's really interesting that Southern Europe is China and Northern Europe is Hong Kong.
Who of you would join a Hong Kong tour? So
yeah,
if I can travel, I want to do this, and again, because it's not the first one. So who of you would join that tour?
Count me in for sure. That's for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, it will be really interesting.
Nice. Let's do it. Marcus, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I've got tomorrow. I'm talking to 1,000 kids in China. So this has been hugely useful for me. And I'll be very intrigued. They're at going to be very interesting.
I want you to share with me and the rest of the group. And on Monday and several times during the week, I said, I want you to take something out of this. Is it too close? Is it too soon after the program or in the program to articulate it? But maybe it is not. I'm curious. Eveline, Peter, and Marcus, you've been at most of the sessions. Johan, you've been at many sessions. Martin, you've been at most of the sessions. Is there a takeaway? Is there something that you feel like, okay, this sticks? Johan?
To be honest, this kind of entrepreneurial side of me, which I abandoned a few years ago, it was very, very active back then, starts to come back. So I started having new ideas, just out of nothing. And, out of nothing, I sent one of these ideas to a friend of mine who is a member of the parliament in Romania. And he said, well, this is a great idea. I will propose a law based on your idea.
That's an impact.
And it is a crazy, sorry, my delivery arrived. I will just come back in 2 seconds. So it's
Sure.
a crazy idea about paying people to lose body weight. That's the potential of the idea.
Smart. Peter, how about you? Until Johan is back.
I think I have to think about it. I mean, it has been really inspiring. I think. I mean, I'm very focused. Also, before joining here, I'm very focused on Shenzhen, and now I'm also very focused on Hong Kong. I didn't know that before. I mean, 40 minutes ago, I didn't knew that was the case. But I think it's really interesting to see the world from different perspectives. I mean, talking about future food, for instance, with those from New York compared to food production in Europe, it's just two different planets, and it's but it's really interesting. I think a lot of the answers lies in different perspectives. Also, I mean, we just talked about Roy Sutherland, and he's actually like a really good example of challenging the existing. I think that's the most interesting thing, that is to challenge the existing things. I mean, the things that you believe can only be in one way. Traveling is always about travel fast. And so I think on a lot of areas, that's really interesting to, okay, who says that the best way of traveling is traveling fast? How about slow traveling? How would that look like? Or how about, I mean, just flip it around. And I think that's the interesting thing about talking with different parts of the world, that is to get these perspectives.
Yeah, traveling is a big conversation. Also, traveling was for the longest time means to get from one point to another.
Yeah.
Right? And for just a few, it's part of the journey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Eveline?
I'm still thinking. Yeah, I liked it quite a lot. It took me a little bit of time as well to make use of the format for my work, put it like that. and think about, I mean, for sure, what we have discussed as well with the other formats that we have explored, I could think of making use for that, especially a little bit more science driven, or attract scientists to attend to it, which would be fine, but would not be a major outcome of the tour, I would say. I definitely think about, I'm currently working on a PhD thesis and try to work forward to that. And I think whether I should make use of that or rather put it more in an applied way. So that's currently what I'm a little bit struggling with, because if I put it into a thesis, it takes such a lot of time, put it like that. And I'm more an experimental researcher, as I said, which means running experiments, try and make something happen. So that's currently what I'm thinking of, what would be the next step for me.
Good. Good, interesting. Martin.
Well, I'm not sure now, but there are so many ideas and impressions. So I think that they have to settle down. But I have always also the glasses of scouting for the innovation progress, as you see. And I think there are a few really great people there. So they would be great speakers too, I think. And so I have to think about it, and we'll see. But
you probably participated at 25 meetings in total, right? With all the 3 tours.
Yeah, but what I think the question always is, and I think we discussed it also already also in the TED context. My question is always what would be possible for this to bring in the region? Because it's nice for me personally, it's nice to see all these bright minds and learn from them. But the question is always, what can I do with this now in our region? So I have no idea in the moment how to transfer it in the region.
I think if I don't know, I'm thinking loudly, okay? Mm-hmm. But one thing is to transfer technology. I've seen this there. Can't it work here? Another thing is to transform hunger. Mm-hmm. Right? I've been in 30 meetings. How can I ignite curiosity? How can I get everyone psyched about meeting and having conversation with someone else in the rest of the world on a regular basis? Not on them, right? You're not, by your personality, you've been at every TEDx event. You've been at almost every tour meeting. Not because you don't know what to do with your time, but because you're hungry. How can you transform the concept of being a sponge as a phase 1, a sponge of curiosity, of insights, of ideas, of personalities, of journeys? How can I transform this into my region? Because right now, what I see so much with people visiting my tours and feedback that I have is that they come back and they're facing headwinds because no one else but me was in this experience. And I have to explain every part of it, every piece of technology. But if you ignite curiosity, you don't have to explain stuff anymore because people will acquire their own understanding of what you're talking about. But now for being part of this conversation was just you. Every time you go back, you have to explain. And then for every little snippet, you have to give a reason, and you have to motivate people, and you have to find investors, and you have to find commitments. And I think this is a hard ride because you constantly swim against the current. But if you manage to get people curious, if you manage to get people, Astra Taylor said the illiterate of the future are not those who can't read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. This is what you're doing all of the time. In every session you're participating, you're learning, you're unlearning, and you're relearning. You're constantly challenging your experience with some fresh thinking, and sometimes it holds against, and sometimes you amend your ways of seeing. But that's just you, and it's always you. And I think that's something that could be a good effort, and know where to start and where to root this and where to drop the seed. How can I make my region be more curious rather than what of the insights can I transform and bring into my hood? I don't know what you think about it. Open question also, like Marcus, what do you think about it?
Well, I'd like to pick up from what Martin was saying. So when I was in Klagenfurt talking to the schools and to the school leaders, there was just, I think, 5 or 6 school leaders and then a couple of hundred kids. This would come as a revelation to them. And if we wanted to not just ignite, but also reinforce and stimulate the curiosity in those kids, Martin, I mean, you can do this right now, and start a whole movement in Klagenfurt, which could really accelerate, dramatically accelerate the thinking of those kids, their behaviors, and what is possible. Because I think a lot of them see themselves in Klagenfurt as being in this rather friendly, nice little town, sort of distanced from the rest of the world. I mean, genuinely, I think that's the case.
Martin, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
And then each of us can do this with all the people we meet, you know, because I'm guessing that a lot of the people we meet, whether they're in the scientific community or whatever, they're boxed to their way of thinking, and their way of thinking is boxed upon the people around them and boxed upon their habits, which they have picked up. And by taking this time, each of us, to just helped dramatically by Nikki's amazing network, you know, maybe we're just challenging all the assumptions of the box. And crikey, you know, if each of us can just remove one of the walls from the box, and we're free to go out. And maybe that's the best thing which we can do for each of us, you know.
I have a question, Martin. What would you like to hear people saying more? Carinthia is the most innovative state in Austria, or Carinthia is the most curious state in Austria?
Well, I like the noisy version. The nosy version, I think.
Curious, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like everyone wants to be the most innovative space in fill the blank. And I don't hear anyone saying, hey, we're the most curious people in the whole country of Austria.
That's probably because innovation is already related to something which is a product or a process that is working, and curiosity might be an idea which is not already implemented.
Yeah, I mean,
so you don't get rewards for curiosity, put it like that.
Yeah, because you don't, I mean, it lacks the fantasy of measuring it. Yeah. But curiosity can be easily measured by the amount of experiments you run, right? If you say, like, we run 100 experiments every 2 weeks, that's the parameter, that's the metric of success when you want to measure curiosity. Because of course you want to be more than nosy, right? You don't want to put your nose into every drawer. You want to figure out things out. Curiosity means you want to try out things, you want to experiment. So if you say, like, we run the most experiments, everyone knows that no one is learning as much as you're doing, right? Every experiment tells you what works and what does not work. So either way, you've learned. So there is nothing bad with an experiment. So if you're curious, one thing is to be curious, that's fine. So you can put your nose into everything. But another thing is to convert your curiosity into the amount of experiments you run. Thought?
I think for my sake, it's when it comes to curiosity, it's quite borderless. I get more inspired by talking with you than some locals. I mean, there's a lot of creative people in Copenhagen, so I'm not saying that, but for me, it's more like a global tribe, more than something that's connected to a specific place. At least that's my experience. And one of the key ingredients, I think, is different perspectives, and that can be like different nationalities, but it can also be different professions, different, life circumstances. So you just need these triggers. So for me, it's really about conversations with you guys, and with somebody that's out of the ordinary, so to speak, out of everyday life, because it can be really hard to step out of everyday life and have like really interesting conversations. It happens, of course, but it's just much more easy when we're not a part of our everyday life.
How is that for you? It was 2 hours a day. Is this too much for a week? Is this too much?
I think it's perfect. For me, it's completely perfect. I mean, I spent a shitload of time reading all kinds of stuff and YouTube videos, and I mean, I'm learning. I spent probably 5 hours a day learning every day, 7 days a week, year round. When I wake in the night, I spend half an hour in reading something. It's very unhealthy, I guess, but that's my life. So I just love these conversations. Yeah.
I love to put this into the fabric of our lives. I mean, I'm doing these tours probably once per month for the public and one per month private. But how can we weave this into the fabric of our life, that we're incubating just conversations, so we have curating just conversations, probably the better term, where people can participate. And I shared with you the concept of invite 2 of my best friends and having a chat in public. I think that could also be fun. I mean, we'll see. I'm going to experiment it. It's going to be a fun tryout, fun pilot.
Yeah, sounds a good idea.
Yeah.
It is a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
You've made it through the week.
We did it.
I have this energy on Fridays after the tours where I feel like, we're done. No one has any urgency to leave that room, and it's so nice because it's kind of a good and bad at the same time, because I loved every single conversation. I don't know how about you, if you feel like I could have done without that conversation. For me, all of these 10 meetings were just amazing.
Yeah, totally agree. We have in Copenhagen, we have the first summer day today. Yesterday was pretty good also, but today is totally awesome. So so the only hurry, and actually it's a national holiday today. So so we're going to play croquet in the center of Copenhagen at one of the most awesome parks that's next to the Royal Opera. So that's the only thing I have to do today.
Nice. I like the way Johan just said it's gym for the brain. So you did your push-ups today already. Now you can do some real workout.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hey guys, it's been a wonderful week. Thank you so much for giving me your 2 hours every day of time. I see this as a privilege. I really see this as something very special, and I honor this. And you're coming again and again, and that means a lot to me. That these conversations, I love the people we meet. I enjoy so much having conversation with them, but just them and me would be lonely. And you bring so much energy to to these conversations. You bring so many good questions and thoughts and views and perspectives, and your personality. Thank you so much. Share it with people. If you like what you've seen, share it with people. If you don't like what you've seen, share it with me, because people can make it better. Only I can make it better.
Sure.
And see you again. It's going to be the next tour is in 3 weeks or so. I do the webinars. I don't know if you heard about the webinars I'm doing every weekday when there's no tour, on exponential organization, on public speaking, on growth hacking, on skills of social intelligence, and finally TikTok for business. We did TikTok for science recently. It was also fun. It's kind of an interesting conversion of a lot of theory into here's something very practical. There's a lot going on. I'm your virtual host, and I enjoy being that. That being said, have a wonderful rest of the day, the week, the weekend, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very soon.
Thank you so much.
Likewise.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Martin,
Bye.
Evelyn, Peter, Johan, and Michaela. It's been wonderful being part of your company, and enormous thanks for Nikki for bringing us together on this lovely journey where we met some really interesting people. So thank you. It's been a privilege.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.